And to shed more light on this issue, I'm honored to be joined over the phone by Dr. Ayman Ghonem, economic expert. Good day, Dr. Ayman.
Good day to you, madam.
Thank you so much for joining us on Cairo Local Time on Nile TV International. And at the beginning, how would you describe the current relationship between Egypt and abroad?
Well, actually, the Egyptian economic diplomacy tries to maintain strong relationships with the multilateral banks, with international financial organizations, and with finance providers worldwide. Because if we look at the objectives of our Egyptian economic diplomacy under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, we will find that we have three main pillars. The first one is promoting Egypt's export in order to reach the goal of 100 billion non-oil exports per annum. The second goal is promoting the foreign direct investment, and especially in the promising economic zones like Suez Canal Economic Zone. And the third objective is procuring finance at easy and just terms for Egypt for the sustainable development. In such goal, we try to maintain strong relations, and we try to explain to the multilateral banks, including, of course, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, we try to explain the objectives and the outcomes of the Egyptian economic reform agenda, whether it is the fiscal reform, the structural fiscal reform, or the monetary reform. And in this regard, we see the visit paid by the Foreign Minister, His Excellency Dr. Badr Abdel, and his meetings with the officials of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development.
Well, Doctor, how has the average contributed to Egypt's economic development in recent years?
Well, actually, EBRD has a portfolio of around 14 billion euros of investments in Egypt. Of course, such investments include the financing of sustainable development projects, renewable energy projects, deepening the financial markets, improving the efficiency of government services, and improving the Egyptian infrastructure, especially in the water desalination projects, sewage, as well as energy networks. So it's quite a big and diversified portfolio that EBRD has in Egypt. And as I said, it's part of Egypt's efforts to procure finance for the sustainable development projects at just and easy terms.
Well, of course, Doctor, the private sector plays a great and significant role in economic development in different fields. How do you see the role of EBRD in supporting the private sector?
Well, empowering the private sector is one of the pillars of the Egyptian economic reform agenda. And we have the state ownership policy that was announced in May 2022, and it delineates the role of the private sector in the economic development of Egypt. And it shows that the state plans to increase the role of private sector in the sectors that it plans to withdraw from, and it plans to do so by first empowering the private sector, enabling the expansion of private sector in such projects, as well as selling parts or all of the state-owned enterprises in such sectors. The EBRD, as a multilateral international bank, plays, of course, an important role in financing the private sector, on the one hand, in financing the projects that empower the private sector, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as in financing the infrastructure and mega projects that also contributes to the growth of the private sector in Egypt. And therefore, we can look at the role of EBRD as a direct and indirect role. And here we have to understand that the indirect role, which is the financing of the infrastructure and the mega project, is also an important part in the promotion of the role of the private sector, because the private sector include the contractors, includes the companies that undertake the construction of such projects, as well as, of course, injecting funds in the Egyptian economy through the multiplier effect, of course, improves and enables the private sector to grow.
Well, also, Doctor, talking about the green economy, how does EBRD support Egypt in the transition towards the green economy?
Well, actually, the energy file and the energy strategy is an important element in the Egyptian economic reform agenda, because it's expected in the coming 2-3 decades that you can see a power shift worldwide from the countries that are leading in the production and exportation of fossil fuel, including petroleum and to a lesser extent natural gas and coal, of course, to the countries that are leading in the production of renewable energy, green energy and green hydrogen. And we have two international crises to prove this. We have the Russia-Ukraine war in 22-23, and presently we have the military conflict in the Middle East that disturbed the supply chains of petroleum and natural gas, and that showed that the world dependence on the fossil fuel may cause waves of global inflation, of course, due to the disruption of the supply chain of the countries producing oil and natural gas. And that's why many of the countries worldwide target to increase the dependence on renewable energy. For example, Germany, it targets that by 2030, more than 80% of its electricity has to be produced by renewable energy. In Egypt, our strategy is to reach at least 40% by 2030. Egypt has been working preemptively, actually, in this regard, and the political leadership of Egypt has been targeting to convert especially the Suez Canal economic zone into a regional hub of the production of renewable energy and the production of clean energy, mainly green hydrogen. And we've witnessed a lot of foreign direct investment in this regard, especially coming from China in the economic zone in Suez Canal. And we've also witnessed an increasing investment coming from the European Union, especially that the European Union, of course, suffered from the global inflation that resulted, as I said, from the international crises related to petroleum and natural gas. And in this regard, EBRD, as a multilateral bank that's tied with the European Union, is very much interested in financing and sponsoring such projects.
Well, also the state is always supporting youth. Talking about the impact or EBRD investments had on job creation for youth and also economic growth in Egypt.
Well, the economic empowerment of youth is part of the general economic agenda of Egypt, and we have many initiatives in this regard, of course, including decentralized initiative that mainly focus on Upper Egypt and focus on the economic empowerment of the less privileged classes in the society on the one hand, and on the other hand, Egypt has been promoting a lot of projects, a lot of initiatives for the economic empowerment, and such initiatives try to have economic viability, and that's why the Ministry of International Cooperation promoted a certain platform called Nuwafi, and this platform tried to promote the economic viability and feasibility of the project and the initiatives that aim at empowering the less privileged classes and less privileged sectors and regions in the society. And the Egyptian economic diplomacy has been active in trying to procure finance for such initiatives at easy, or we can say at just terms.
Well, Dr. Ayman Ghonem, economic expert, thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on Cairo Local Time on Nile TV.